Hi, and welcome to a Sense of Wellness podcast, inspiring and empowering a healthier you. I'm your host, Susan Greeley, and I'll be diving deeper into the 4 pillars of wellness: sleep, exercise, nutrition, and stress management. Today, I'm talking about an important topic that affects everyone and all 4 pillars of wellness. We live in a world of technology that only seems to be expanding, and we all know that it is getting more difficult to balance our daily lives in a healthy way and also avoid toxins in our environment. I get questions about that all the time. We all also want to move and function at our best. So I am very ready to start this conversation with my guest today. I am joined by Justin Frandson, who is a renowned performance coach, and he is the founder of Athleticism.com, which has been around for 24 years at this point, I believe. No, 26 years, and EMFRocks.com. He is a sought-after speaker and leading expert in the connection between human performance and the environment. As a performance coach, Justin became interested in the impact of environmental factors on athletic performance after he noticed that many of his athletes were breaking down due to the effects of wearable technology. I find that fascinating. And Justin, thank you for being with me today. I have so many questions for you, so we'll go ahead and get started.
Look forward to it, Susan. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, this is something so not just timely, but so important because I do think it's really under the radar, and there's kind of a pun intended. I think that let's start with your background with athleticism.com and then things that you've noticed and how you ended up developing EMFRocks.com. And I want to ask you many questions about man-made EMFs. So take the floor, please, Justin. Give us, your whole background.
Yeah, thanks, Susan. So I started athleticism.com over 26 years ago, working with amateur and professional athletes. And we do nerve and fascia and whole body, whole brain training for sports performance. And I treat concussions. So what I saw over a dozen years ago was our athletes breaking down from wearable technology. And one in particular had a smartwatch on his wrist. And he said, "Justin, I have pain in my wrist." And I said, "Which one?" He said, "The left one." And I said, "Where?" And he said, "Right where this watch is." And I said, "Well, take the watch off. That's radiation right on your wrist." And he looked at me like, "What are you talking about?" Well, the pain went right away once the wrist was void of that stressor. And that was really the aha moment for me, where I wanted to really dive into the electromagnetic fields and how we're one with nature and one with our environment, and how non-native waveforms really affect us. And then I rolled out EMFRocks.com and EMF Rocks. And our grounding bags are now the industry leader in natural EMF protection.
Yes, you have products and services on both athleticism.com and EMFRocks.com. So I want to say that for listeners because it is, where people who are listening want to go to find these things. So let's talk about our environment, Justin. And then obviously also, as I said, how we function and feel in our daily lives. What do you see? You work with people. I work with people. Questions are coming up and complaints on our daily basis. I think we all carry a cell phone. I was just mentioning to you, we wear our AirPods. I wear my Oura Ring. We have smartwatch devices. In the world of wellness in particular, we're recommending these things, but then on the flip side, are we ultimately causing more damage? And I really hate to even say that, but what are your thoughts on that? What are you observing? And how do we avoid the man-made EMFs that we do know over time, I believe, are only going to get worse and more damaging for us?
Definitely. Well, I see what you're seeing is that the proliferation of non-native waveforms in our environment are just increasing at record levels. And industries are pushing us to wear them and use them and track and trace and all this stuff. And our bodies aren't designed to handle these polarizing waveforms, especially at the levels that they are at currently, and then especially at the close proximity. So what we're seeing is an absolute epidemic of chronic dehydration from our clients and basically everyone with all the electromagnetic radiation in our environment. And then obviously the wearables that a lot of us are opting in on. using.
I just seriously had this light bulb moment about the dehydration because my team and I, we work with people daily on coaching them, Justin. And I swear to you, everybody does seem to be dehydrated. And even though we're drinking a lot of water, how do we counteract that? So what is actually going on? Why is it causing dehydration? And how do we counteract that?
So the big thing is we're getting dehydrated from a lot of different levels. There's the chemtrails that they're dropping barium, and the barium will dehydrate our fascia. And the other part, they're dropping barium, strontium, aluminum. So a lot of heavy metals that are just awful toxicity for our environment and us. But the other part is the bandwidth of 2.45 gigahertz. And I'm going to convert that to a wave per second so everyone can understand. So that's 2.45 billion waves per second because they measure electricity and the speed of their wavelength. So that speed is the exact speed of the lowest level where our water is destructured. So if we're destructuring our water, it's not going to be absorptive for our body, and it's not going to have those conductive measurements and that where our bodies are really seeking for to help hydrate ourselves. And the big component is it not only dehydrates us, but it dehydrates our fascia. And our fascia is probably one of the primary components of our body. And that is the framework of our body. I'm going to have everyone unlearn what we've been taught, and I was taught in school about the body and the bones being structure. It's not, it's the fascia. The fascia is the everything of the body, the nervous system, the intelligence, how it communicates. And the layers of fascia, when they get dehydrated, you start to see what we call, symptoms of dis-ease. And then in the sports world, it's injuries and pain.
I don't think enough of us are making that connection, quite honestly. And so that is why we're here. And I'm really thankful to have you here talking with me about this, Justin. So how do we undo this? Actually, please just give listeners a really quick definition of the fascia. I actually had a group speak to at, My Wellness World, do an event on just fascial stretching. And this is not new, but it's just unknown to most lay people, honestly, like what's going on in the human body, as you said, beyond the skeleton and our muscles. So give us that definition of the fascia, please. And then I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of other questions about what we're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Well, the fascia is basically what our bones and everything is made in. I mean, that is absolutely the framework. So they call it soft tissue. And it goes, there's multiple layers. I feel about 7 layers of fascia. And if we see dark circles under someone's eyes, that's a dehydration of, several millimeters of fascia. And you're starting to see other parts of the body. That's the discoloration. But when we're fully hydrated, you don't see that stuff and you don't have the pain. And what happens is with the dehydration and emotional holding traumas will develop fascial adhesions. And these fascial adhesions will restrict your circulation, your blood flow, your movement. It'll start to cause the stagnant portions of the body where you're not able to eliminate because you have adhesions down there. It will block pregnancies. That'll basically divert the connections from traumas. So for concussions, you got to release those fascial adhesions to heal those traumas. So the fascia is basically the everything that the doctors cut through to get to repair the knee. And they think of it as they just don't really address that main component, but that's what the fascia is. It's those soft tissue layers that is in and around everything. That is our network for how we can self-heal. And just to add to this, the couple things that we can do to unwind it is to do fascial maneuvers. And I feel that the Gary Lineham's human garage maneuvers, they're free and body works in a counter rotation. And when you can counter rotate your body, you'll be able to get those fascial adhesions out. It's the most incredible self-healing system out there through breathing and then twisting and counter rotating your body. And then the next would be everyone should be taking diatomaceous earth, which is silica, which our body is mostly silica, and then also Irish sea moss to get the minerals back in. So when you do those few things, your body is going to self-heal.
Oh, it's so fascinating. From a nutrition standpoint, I love this. Talking silica. Where do people get silica?
But you can get it homeopathically, and Alphavedic, ALFAVEDIC.com sells a homeopathic line, and then a bunch of cell salts for the body. But then also Human Garage sells it, but you can get it in through diatomaceous earth is what you want to get. Okay. And you can get it in powder, you can get capsules. And so Human Garage sells it online at humangarage.net, I believe.
Excellent. I'd have to throw this in there. When I was pregnant with my first son, I was living in Germany. This is 22 years ago. And the doctors there had me literally eating, it's called Kieselerde, and it's literally like dirt. It's earth.
Yeah.
It just popped into my head. I didn't quite understand at the time why they were having me do that, but I think I need to find more of that now. Yeah, because even the trace minerals, we aren't getting enough in our diet. We aren't consuming them. And then our body is being dehydrated simply by living in this world that we live in. So I want to go back to that. So now we have the fascia and our body's being dehydrated, even though we're drinking enough water in most cases. So it's very confusing to people about what's going on and why they're still chronically dehydrated. So that's one of the symptoms of the, EMFs that we're exposed to, but aren't there other symptoms such as headaches and brain fog? And you tell me, what are some other symptoms you're experiencing?
Yeah, so there's a huge list. I mean, this is absolutely, Susan, a loaded question. Yeah. There are so much that goes into the challenges that are presented from electromagnetic fields that are non-native, and we call them EMFs. They're actually EMRs, electromagnetic radiation, because those are the non-native ones. And just to start, Dr. Martin Paul out of Washington State University did some studies, and he studied that the voltage-gated calcium channels break down. So there's a secondary effect where there's a positive calcium is let into a negative cell, and that causes cell and DNA damage. So those are 4 big words for saying that that's the gateway for your mitochondria to get energy. Like that's disrupted right out of the gates with electromagnetic radiation. And from there, we see a multitude of different challenges. So when we're sleeping, and I know your podcast and audience is just huge on sleep, and that's where our grounding bags are so helpful and are sold through doctor clinics. But when we're sleeping, what happens is these bandwidths, our brain tries to figure out what's pinging them. And so we go into a twilight sleep because it's a way faster of a speed of a wavelength than our delta theta brainwave state. So the other parts is that it calcifies our pineal gland. So it messes with our endocrine system. So it's a full disruptor of all our serotonin, melatonin, all the hormones that we're replenishing when we're sleeping. And it disconnects us from God as well with calcifying that pineal gland. And then the dehydration. So that's basically the sleep part. We don't get into those deep sleeps. We're not replenishing our hormones at that time. Then what happens is the first signs, you're exactly right. They're all cognitive. So it would be a lack of focus, memory, anxiety, fatigue, stress, headaches, ringing in the ears, bloody noses. I mean, those will be signs that you'll see. And the lack of sleep is obviously at the top of the list with all that. But you'll see behavioral challenges with kids. And then level 2 would be the non-trauma concussion symptoms that we saw in the Havana cohort, which was the first attack of U.S. embassy workers on foreign soil with microwave radiation in China and Havana, Cuba. And they saw nausea, vomiting, seizures, rashes on the skin, more severe headaches like migraines, and their pets saw those same symptoms too. And then you go into level 3, I call it the bigs. Oh, cancer, suicide, diabetes, Alzheimer's disease, which is now they're considering it type 3 diabetes, and then cardiovascular disease. And then infertility is the next biggest one that we're seeing now. So all those, plus what I see clinically are the eyes, the teeth, the thymus, and your intestine area below your belly button are the 4 primary areas that get decharged. So they're like the weak links for the body for EMF.
Okay. So I'm just listening. I'm captivated by this. And I'm so happy we're having, again, this conversation because this is the world we live in. And there may be people who discount the impact, the effect of these non-native EMRs on our bodies. And that's a shame because this is such an important conversation and issue to bring to light. So I'm all about giving people tangible tools and techniques and how do we simply, again, counteract, mitigate the damaging effects. Like, what are things that we can do in our daily lives? Even, I don't want to scare people that some people are more exposed than others simply by where they live. And I'm guessing in, densely populated urban areas. Here I am in suburban New Jersey outside of New York City. And I know New York City is probably glowing, right?
It is.
Yeah, seriously. So what can we do in our daily lives to soften things and help ourselves, regain our health? Honestly, Justin, I think a lot of people have had a loss of the health and well-being. And as you mentioned, are even suffering from chronic diseases that are directly, related to this issue, but we're not recognizing it. So we look for other things. I think this is a root cause issue here. So what can we do to turn this around?
Well, start with those fascial maneuvers and hydration, and that'll change your whole world. It'll re-inflate the pressure system of your body. It'll give you more vitality and make you stronger just right out of the gate. So those recommendations is at almost 30 years in the health space is the best thing I could say. Now, the biggest part with this topic is concerned is if you're looking at a car battery, Susan, and it doesn't have water in it, the car battery dies, right?
Sure does.
Yeah. 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 So does our body battery, essentially. So if we're missing out on that hydration part, we're dead. We're not charged. But there's 5 components that feed our electromagnetic body. And what they are is the sun, the unpolarized light of the sun, the Earth's resonance, the negative ionic charge, where we get the electrons that feed our electron transport chain. And then we get minerals, as Dr. Zach Bush would say, from the air and getting out into nature. And then hopefully we get it from our food, if we're sourcing our food properly and eating real food. And then we get the minerals as well from water, but then we also get the conductivity from it when it's more structured water or spring water. That is the essence of health right there, is to get out in nature and get those free elements that help facilitate keeping the polarity of our body charged. And if we're missing any one of those, Susan, that's a chink in the armor that becomes the gateway for dis-ease to occur. So fundamental first step, get out in nature, get grounded by nature, because nature knows how to heal us and we're one with nature. And now, there's tons of proximity protocols that I want to get into later, but I would love to dive more into how we are one with nature.
Be my guest. Keep going. I think people are hearing this more and more. We need to be grounded, do daily grounding, and they don't even know what to do with that. What does that mean? It's kind of funny. It is all about, being connected and in touch with all of these elements of nature, but please elaborate.
Yeah, we're electromagnetic beings and our universe has electromagnetic resonance, and we're one with that resonance. And we call those unpolarized waves that we're one with. So the prime example of that would be if I drop a pebble into a pond. Does the splash of the pond go in a straight line to the right? No way. It distributes equally in every direction, a circular resonance. Why is that? It's because it's a framework of every resonance on the planet is unpolarized, especially with living beings. My biofield goes out about 6 to 8 feet in every direction. They didn't say just stay 6 to 8 feet away from Justin's right ear. That's not how it works. When we're grounded by nature, we're not in it in this spot and then out of it here. It's the Schumann resonance, that healing pulse of the earth, about 7.83 hertz, depending on the season, is everywhere out in nature, outside. That the sun is unpolarized. It's not a laser dot coming down. It distributes equally in every direction. I have a window right here. You can see a lot of light behind my hand. If it were a laser, you couldn't see anything behind it. So simple examples of how we're one with nature. These are scalar waves that are unpolarized. They're the framework for every living being and the entire resonance of our universe. To the contrary, all man-made waveforms are all one directional, or they don't work. So Susan, electricity, dirty electricity, wireless signals, they're all one directional waveforms. Those cell tower panels, they face these panels every direction because they broadcast straight lines. They can vary them about 30 degrees. But if you're in direct line to that, that's a directed weaponry at your body of ionizing millimeter wave weaponry in the bandwidth of microwave spectrum, essentially, I feel. Now, our government says they're non-ionizing and all this nonsense, but that's not true. We know from Dr. Martin Paul's work that even if there's low-level EMFs, there's still a vibration effect that disrupts our body. So even if they measure electricity in the 50 to 60 milligauss or convert that to wave per second, it's 50 to 60 waves per second. Dirty electricity is about 4,000 to 100,000 waves per second. Then the wireless is 50 million to billions of waves per second. 5G is 60 to 90 billion waves per second. This telecom has the opportunity to go up to 300 gigahertz, which is 300 billion waves per second. Remember, when we sleep, we're at 1 or below 1 to 8 hertz or waves per second. That's when we're in a delta theta brainwave state. When our athletes are performing, we're in the zone. We're 8 to 13 hertz or waves per second. Remember that Schumann resonance? 7.83 hertz or waves per second. There is a 10-0 plus delta between us and what we are being radiated with. And it's not getting any better.
I think that's the most profound key part. It's not getting any better. So again, focus on the basics. I think that's the most important message we can give to listeners and get out there into the world. And I do practice this or, try to in my own personal life is getting daily sunlight, getting out in nature, going for walks or hikes, wherever you live, finding the nature to connect with. And what do you think I don't know if you're I'm guessing where you live out there in Southern California, you have warmer days where do you get out and walk barefoot? Is that one of the ways that we can?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Is it every day? Are you kidding me? So I have to say it takes work, everybody, to get out into nature because we've been so conditioned not to. So the big thing, what I want to really emphasize is put in the work. I put in the work. And that's the key element. I walk the dog barefoot every day. I play beach volleyball in the sand several days a week, out in the sun, barefoot. I am a waterman. I am in the ocean several days a week, no wetsuit, either ocean swimming. I do open water ocean swims. I free dive. I surf. And I am in the water all the time. No wetsuit, cold water therapy. It's 78-degree temperature. I'm in for 20 to 40 minutes, depending on the day. And putting in the work, everybody. I'm putting in the work. It's up to you to do it. Now, you don't have to be as extreme as me. Go outside and get barefoot, touch a tree, hug a tree, climb a rock, touch your body to that resonance, have a picnic outside, put your feet into a body of water if you don't want to put the whole body in the body of water, but get into bodies of water. That is how we recharge our body batteries. Stop being invested in the meta universe. So Susan, I'm going to invite you to lose the ring and get rid of the wireless earbuds because that is just like having a router on your finger. And then the earbuds are an airway canal directly to your brain, essentially. So you're having localized radiation in your inner ear. That's going to cause acoustic nerve challenges. And, over a long period of time, I feel the 10-year mark is what I've seen. Guys that are healthy driving electric cars, 10 years they break down. Kids that aren't healthy, exposed to high EMF in their home, 10 years is when they get seizures. 10 years is when they get diabetes. 10 years is their teeth will grind down to nothing. 10 years is the mark when you're introduced to this stuff at high levels. And I know you talked about sensitivities of people and different levels of sensitivity. And that's another big topic that I want to jump into.
Oh boy, I love this. I keep saying that, but I just love this. I'm like, oh, I lost track of my questions long ago because you're taking me down different areas. Do you want to go ahead on the different sensitivities? And as we're talking, literally took off my Aura ring, and I want others to hear this because we are wearing too many devices. I totally agree. And as much as we think technology is cool, I do see that it has some harmful effects. So how about the sensitivities? This is one thing.
Well, yeah, I know you mentioned that you're starting to feel the effects of the ring and then the earbuds, and that's a huge thing. And so, Susan, you have a gift of feeling energy and awareness, and it's not a curse. And the people that are more sensitive think it's a curse. I feel it's a gift. What we see is the people that have that sensitivity to it and that awareness of it are the ones that are the most toxic. And when we have, whether it's a layer of toxicity inside our body with heavy metals, or we have stuck EMF in our biofield externally, we're going to be way more susceptible and subject to feeling the polarity of these resonances in our biofield. So the best recommendation for everyone, again, get outside into nature, and that's going to get regrounded. The other part, and I know we'll get into our grounding bags at some point here, but the grounding bags are a way to self-heal. You can tap on them and recharge our body battery up to 10x your energy. And you can recharge those eyes, teeth, thymus, and intestines that have been decharged. Like, those are huge points for people to realize. So we have a tapping protocol. It's in the brochure when you purchase your grounding bag, but you tap on the bag with one hand. So tapping on one, and you cover your eyes with the other hand, and then your teeth, and you're tapping and breathing in your thymus, which is your electrical system for your body, and then the intestines. So you tap and breathe, one hand taps, one hand covers each of those 4 areas for about 20 to 30 seconds. And you'll feel, whenever you feel off. So how do we know? Well, I do applied kinesiology. I'm a muscle tester. But for the people that aren't, maybe you didn't wake up on your energy. You didn't jump out of bed. Maybe you have that afternoon fatigue. Maybe your stomach just didn't assimilate the food well. You have like some weird feeling in your stomach. Those are some simple ways to tell if some of the bigger areas, the teeth are harder to feel. You might have some sensitivity there, but that's more tough one to test and feel on your own. But the others, you can definitely sense if you have those tired eyes or no energy and, disruption in your digestion. So the tapping protocol will clear that. And if you have stuck EMF internally, you're the nutritionist, so you know best, but bentonite clay, apple cider vinegar, and protease, the proteolytic enzyme, will be amazing for helping you chelate without having major detox symptoms. Cellcore brand, it's a practitioner cellular detox brand for cellular health. It has some great binders. I would add in those. So do the tapping with the proper nutrition with the diatomaceous earth and Irish sea moss, and you're not going to have the signs of huge detox that most people have from heavy metals. Because what happens is this radiation will get stuck behind the heavy metals. And so we're holding onto it. We don't even know we're holding onto it. When you can start to move some stuff out of there, do the fascial maneuvers, rehydrate it, the body ends up naturally flushing this stuff without the fatigue of the detox. But I want to let everyone know, if you're toxic and you purchase a grounding bag and you put it on your bed and you have the worst night's sleep and you call me and go, Justin, I didn't sleep well. And I'm going to go, that just proves my point. Nature has the most purest form of frequency. When there's toxicity that meets the good, there's going to be a detox protocol your body's going to go through. So you're going to feel those symptoms if you're toxic, until you flush. So I urge everyone to do those subtle little flushes and keep their body, flushing and hydrating and moving. And that's going to allow you to heal.
Mm-hmm. Oh, thank you. That's excellent. That was a nice little recipe. And that's literally what you gave us. So thank you. And I think that is very helpful too, because it's kind of scary and doesn't feel great when anybody, I do this from detoxes, can be very, very unpleasant. But again, it's like things are better on the other side. So Don't be afraid. Do those. Takes me to some more of the product side of your website of Athleticism. And I checked it out. And as you're talking and telling a story about being this water man, I also wanted to bring up that you mentioned in one of your videos online how the MCT oil actually helps you stay warmer somehow. Explain that and why you actually have MCT oil on your website and what you do with it.
Yeah. So athleticism.com has all of our curated health products. One of the newer lines that complement our EMF Rocks products are MCT oil. It's a medium chain triglyceride oil. It helps you burn fat as fuel. It keeps you more into ketosis and burning the ketones. And it helps really for the intermittent fasting without being starving all day. You're literally not spiking your glucose level. So the one thing that it couples with EMFs is it normalizes your blood sugar. So that's a huge, huge thing. That's probably one of the biggest. We had a diabetes client that flew on an airplane. When everyone turns on the Wi-Fi, their glucose spiked 200 points and they got a bloody nose. This is environmental stuff. All disease is environmental challenges, messing with the chi of our body that messes with the chemistry. We're not taught that in Western medicine. And that's what I really want to ask everyone is, what is your environment? Because it's directly affecting the makeup, the chemistry of our body. MCT oil is great for your teeth and gums. It's great for the cognitive function as well. I feel when you get the proper fat in your system, everything is lubricated properly and the fascia will work better and start to regulate that temperature change that I see. So that's why I can stay in cold water so long, is because my system is really hydrated and regulated properly with proper nutrition.
Makes total sense to me. So I was marveling at that, the cold plunges and just being in water. Well, they're two different things, but being out in the ocean daily, I can only imagine is just so healing and important for all of us. Not that we all live near the coast. I personally do. And the thought of getting into the northeastern waters scares me, definitely.
Let's go. Come on now.
I know. I have friends who do on New Year's, the polar bear plunges. So
what's the water temperature out there?
Ooh, I honestly don't know this time of year. I'm guessing maybe in the 60s.
Yeah. So, the 60s would be warm for there.
All right,
so yeah, it would be in the 50s or low 50s probably is what I guess. So we're 57 on the.
And you go in it?
Oh yeah.
Degrees?
Yeah. For 30, 40 minutes. Yeah. So your body will regulate. That's the cool thing is you'll feel that fascia layer start to take in the cold and then push back the heat and just warm you up. And once you regulate, you could stay in for a really long time. And it's wild. And if you get cold after, drink some tea, to warm up the core from the temperature from the inside out, and then do some breath work and just get out of the wet, cold stuff. And that'll help too. But your body does what it's supposed to do. It knows how to regulate and self-heal. And so, yeah, the MCT oil is huge for that. And we have so many other, different fun products to add. We have a toothpaste, which I'm really excited about. It helps remineralize your teeth, helps give them back the polarity. You can swallow it. It's purest form of montmorillonite, which is the purest form of bentonite clay. And so it's just minerals and essential oils. And that's been a game changer for people because we're inundating ourselves with so much toxicity from the foods that we consume and then the beauty products and the self-care products to have clean essential oils on your body instead of the artificial fragrances in perfumes and colognes. And then to change the toothpaste out and to not have fluoride in it, not have aluminum and deodorants and all that stuff. We're really got to relook at what our environment is and what we're putting in and around us.
This is fabulous. I didn't know that our conversation would go in this direction, and I thought it could. Initially, I wanted to talk about sleep and exercise and just, movement and how we function. But these are, again, really all tied together and so important because we're all eating multiple times a day. We're putting things in and on our bodies. But I see this in practice, and I also teach about these environmental toxins that we're all exposed to. So we're speaking the same language, Justin. I love this.
Yeah,
it's really helpful. And we can just make small changes and decisions in our own lives every single day. Again, so, sometimes the most basic and simple things from nature are the most powerful when it comes to healing and staying well. So I so appreciate this.
Couple other, like the other simple things is just get rid of the wearable technology like you already did, and then turn your stuff off at night. Like turn off this technology. So get an outlet timer if you have a Wi-Fi router in your home, so it turns off when you're sleeping. We have a electrical panel. We have a switch on that is automated to turn off all the electricity in the bedrooms at night. So the resonance of your home is as low and slow as nature when you're sleeping. Hardwire stuff, get laptops off your lap, put a Faraday bag. I mean, the Faraday bags are for your phone, but you can place it under a laptop if you have to put that on your lap because you want to help with the reproduction. The ovaries absorb 10 times the amount of radiation than any other part of the body. Guys' sperm counts plummet. So for fertility, that's a big thing. I'd also avoid electric cars. That's 18% lower testosterone for guys and girls driving electric cars. And it's not a net zero on the environment. So get out of that fad, stay away from them, and stay more with combustion engines for now. And create that circadian rhythm, really get in the rhythm with nature. And so when the sun comes up, you're looking outside in the blue light and taking in that light, because we're basically a holograph of light and we communicate through light and sound and frequency and vibration. And that is where we're going to be able to heal. And we can transmute these frequencies. So I don't want anyone to emotionally get freaked that, oh, I live near a cell tower, I'm going to die. No, we can convert, it's called physics. We can convert these one directional waveforms into ones that are unpolarizing, that our bodies accept. And we do that by those pillars of health that you promote and by getting out into nature. And then when you're not out in nature, use the grounding bags in your home. And Dr. Rodney White said you'll sleep 60% deeper with his sleep test.
That's fabulous. So many people are struggling with sleep alone for that reason, if no other, because sleep is the foundation of everything, right? If we don't sleep well, our bodies don't heal, we don't recover, and we don't function properly on a daily basis. We can't manage stress.
Right.
You don't eat well, you don't exercise. So a question, how many of your EMF Rocks bags do you need in your home?
So the EMF Rocks Grounding Bags, we have a protocol of interplaying with nature because our technology is hand-mined crystals. We're bringing Earth's resonance into your home to create a coherence between you and these things we call homes, but they're really electrical boxes. And the protocols are one grounding bag on each bed, desk, or car seat. And you can have it on or under. If it's under, have it touching the leg of the bed. I sleep with it at the head of the bed between the mattress and the headboard where I don't bump into it. 5 grounding bags together clear 2,000 square feet of a home. If someone has solar, unfortunately, they haven't figured out how to ground out solar, and it acts like a lot of static because similar to electric car, you're sitting on a big battery. They're storing electricity and giving you the output that you want when you request it. Well, that causes static in the line. So there's really high amounts of dirty electricity in homes with solar. So 7 grounding bags on the floor of your home, centrally located, will clear 2,000 square foot home. And then in an electric car, if someone decides they just still don't want to get rid of their electric car, 7 grounding bags behind the driver's seat will help create that coherence. And then all you do is reground them or recharge them, however you want to call it. Every month, take them outside, put them on the lawn for about 15 to 20 minutes. If you can't do it and you're in a cold environment, wait several months and then do it. They're still going to be effective throughout that whole process.
Okay. Is there any more benefit to doing that, to taking them and recharging them on the beach, for example, or in the mountains, or is your, my front yard just as good?
Your front yard's going to be just as good for the most part. Yeah. You want to keep, unless there's a electrical, huge utility place, you got to stay away from those. But for the most part, just being outside of nature, any spot would be great for putting them on the ground. And the last several years, that's the cool thing. The last 2 to 4 years. And when they lose their form, they lose their function. Everything has a life expectancy, and the same with the crystals. So these are solid. They're about 1 pound of solid rock in here. And when they lose that solid form, it's time to replace them. Or when they turn super white inside, time to replace them. So check them after a couple years. But that's one of my biggest points is I love letting people know that there is an expiration point because that's how our universe is made. And these products are natural. A lot of the other products out there, Susan, are modified resonances. So do you like eating GMO food?
You see me shaking my head. That would be
no way.
And I don't
do I.
Right.
Yeah. So there's no way we want it. So why would we want a modified resonance in our environment when no one does it better than nature? So that's our technology, is to really use nature's technology. So we have a mini grounding bag for your purse, pocket, or backpack. So I have it in my pocket and I put my phone on the outside. So this is about 2 to 3 ounces. And this one's about 1 pound. And that's great for on-the-go protection for a guy's pocket, woman's purse, somebody's backpack. And then the Faraday bags, you can use them as blocking devices. You can lean it against your router. So if this is my microphone, but if you're living on this side of the router, direct the signal the other direction, because remember, they're one directional. So if they're in plain line of sight, there's their weapon pointed right at you. So divert them a different direction than your home and opt out of your smart meter and convert that to analog. Take Back Your Power is a great documentary movie that you could read on it. And then one last recommendation is to read the book, The Invisible Rainbow by Arthur Furstenberg. And that categorizes the history of electricity and light. And it directly correlates every major time of dis-ease and correlates it with shifts in our electromagnetic blanket of an atmosphere. And this is a crazy stat. Before 1889, that's the year we introduced electricity into our homes. Before that time, they called the flu because it would fly in and fly out with solar flares, cosmic shifts, atmospheric pressure shifts. That's why the flu was the flu. It wasn't a seasonal thing until we put electricity into our homes. And then every major electrification, 1918 Spanish flu, World War II, Hong Kong flu, and then satellites in the Van Allen belt for the Hong Kong flu. So we have radio waves, satellites, and then radar for World War II. So those were the times where there were lots of people were adapting. And then obviously everyone knows the last several years, the rollout of 5G, right? And that new bandwidth, they ratcheted up, and we can make a phone call internationally instantly. And those same symptoms of upper respiratory were the same as the Spanish flu in 1918 with the radio wave rollout. There's no scratching your head when you pollute your environment. Our bodies adapt. It's no different if we pollute. Tom Cowan, he's an MD. He had a viral video that he basically cited that if dolphins get sick, you're going to say, who polluted the ocean versus did that dolphin give that dolphin a virus, or is it their genetic mutation in 2020 that all gets it? There's no way. That would be stupid, is what he said. It's who polluted their environment. Our environment is this air and ether plasma that waves and particles travel through. You pollute that, we're going to adapt.
Right. First, the bodies, we see reactions and then we adapt. Right. And
yeah, the signs of disease are an adaptation process at work.
Yeah, no denying that. Thank you. This is, I hope, very helpful and eye-opening. And also, I really mean this to be empowering for people. And we all need to work together to improve the health of our environment and our daily lives, because we are exposed to more and more. And I don't see that changing. I don't see it going away, unfortunately. Right. So, but the more we speak about this and protect ourselves in our homes and our children and all of that, I do believe that we can all function at a higher level. Absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah, we're electrical. It's like, it is all about that frequency. And we do know this. One thing I wanted to talk about when I was doing a little research too, it was interesting to note that the calcium channel blockers medication that people take can be helpful for this. I'm not saying go out and get a prescription for a calcium channel blocker, but I just thought it was really interesting because you had mentioned that earlier in the conversation about the calcium going more directly into our cells, and the calcium channel blockers actually can reverse that. So
yeah, it's interesting. I'm not a fan of medication for that type of stuff, but that's a crazy stat to see that is helpful for it. But there's more natural ways where you can have the voltage gated calcium channels really work more efficiently. And that's to create a coherence with your environment and to get outside into nature and really look at your fascia. Again, like that's been a huge pillar for this topic, but hydrate that, get grounded by nature, get outside. It's free. Use our grounding bags inside, and you're going to see your vitality really spike. Your performance and your sleep will improve as well.
Awesome. You just brought it full circle for us. And that's what I wanted to hear. Thank you so much, Justin. I have one final question for you today, Justin, that I ask of all of my guests. And that is, what is one thing that you are grateful for today?
I'm grateful for the life I have with my family. And that's a big thing.
That's a huge thing. That's everything. That summarizes it right there. And to spend it as healthy as we can for as long as we can. I'm very grateful to hear that. And to meet you, thank you for being here with me today. And honestly, I hope we can have more conversations about this ongoing. So thanks again.
Yeah, thank you, Susan.
Thank you for taking time to join me and listen to this episode. You can find more information and subscribe to the Sense of Wellness podcast on our website at ccphp.net/sens. This show is brought to you by Castle Connolly Private Health Partners, a concierge medicine organization that partners with and supports exceptional physicians to deliver an unrivaled experience of comprehensive, collaborative, and attentive care for a preventative approach on health and optimal well-being for members. Be sure to listen in next time to the Sense of Wellness podcast, and remember, simple daily habits matter most.